Every now and then I do a show that actually gets me excited. I mean, you got to get edified. You got to get strengthened. And I want you to watch this broadcast because it will strengthen you. And while that's happening, I'm a little bit flipping out right now because I'm looking at the price of silver. You realize, and people listen, gold is like $4,000 an ounce. I got a lady kiss me on the cheek, dear old lady. I get this a lot, actually. You made me a lot of money because they've been investing in gold and watching it go up. But silver, that Haggai prophet said, the silver's mine, the gold is mine. Silver's gone up 107% in the last 2 years, and it's only like $48, $49. So those of you that say, I can't afford the gold, Lance, do what I'm doing. Get some silver, people. This is a powerful store of value. Go to lancewallnau.com/gold and talk to them about buying some silver, okay? You're going to get this silver piece. I guess they're going to give you a silver talent for every like $5,000 worth of investment you do. And by the way, veterans, they have a special offer for you. They're going to be waiving a lot of expenses for you for the next year. But just go to lancewallnau.com/gold and talk about, I'm saying, gold and the silver, because there's I guarantee this is only with the battle with China and all the financial shaking in the end times, the silver and the gold is a store of value. That's why people are buying it up. Go there. Let's get into today's revival focus now.
And I want to give this message as clear as I can right now. The world is hearing about Jesus like they haven't in decades right now. There is a revival happening in the United States of America where you can't go on a corner and not hear about Jesus right now. And while we are hearing about Jesus, I encourage you to put faith on your feet and feet on your faith and walk out of this building and go do for the least. They've heard of Jesus, now show them Jesus. Go feed the poor, go visit the ones in jail, go show them who Jesus was. And we're done talking, it's time to show.
Wow. So thank God for TBN. That was up in the upper left-hand corner. I saw who broadcast that. And the Dove Awards. That was the Dove Awards. And Jelly Roll, who is a former criminal, heavily tattooed. Not that that's a criminal offense, but he was famous for his, music scene antics before he met Jesus, and so he just flipped over there. And now you listen to him, and you hear the call in his life was always to be a preacher with music. I mean, this is a great combination. This is in my world. It's like in my Seven Mountain world. You got the arts and the church combined together right there. And just like Charlie Kirk was the church going and invading the college campus scene and the electoral political scene and the media, because his debates were getting hundreds of billions of downloads. So I love it when Christians cloak themselves in the field that they're in, music or art or politics, and that they can express superiority because of their gifting in their area and do it with a Christian worldview and not be ashamed to say, yeah, I'm a Christian. What of it? So anyway, he's got the 2025 Dove Awards, and the world is hearing about Jesus like they haven't in decades. That's true. The world is hearing about Jesus. And I love what Brother Steve Bannon says, that we're after institutional capture. Catch this. It's not just revival, although we want the fire of Jesus' message going out. But until we go to the strongholds, until we go ascend the hill to the garrison of the Philistines, and we tear it down over the arts, such as, that's the big deal about the Kennedy Center. Would that we could do it with the Lincoln Center. Go to these artistic citadels. At the high left is where their high church is. And go to the academia. We got to go to the Ivy Leagues. Trump is doing the work of a spirit-inspired wrecking ball. He's smashing his way through. The left is freaking out. No kings. He's actually making a way for the believers. Why? Because it's one call to tear down. It's another call to build up. And unless there is a revival, the institutions of academia, the institutions of government, the institutions of finance and business, the institutions of media and arts unless we can occupy those institutional high places. We're in trouble because you can have a revival, and then if you sweep through, as Jesus taught, the building, but you don't occupy what you swept, then 7 times worse comes back. And the mandamis that you see in New York City, it's like Hamas, is still in control of Gaza, and Spamberger there, taught in a terrorist school and got her paycheck. That was Schumer even said the school should be shut down, but she took her paycheck from a radical Islamic school. If these people are elected, then they're controlling the high places. And that's why we've got to go for total. That's why everybody freaked out about Christian nationalism. Well, maybe they were right, because somebody's going to control the culture of a nation. And I would rather have the biblical worldview that says there's boys and girls than have the trans ideology, which is a counterfeit religion, masquerading as what? As freedom. I want you to go ahead and play video 9 give me some data to back up my theory.
Christian revival across the country. Bible sales increasing over 40% since 2022. Religion app downloads surging nearly 80%. That increase since 2019. And Christian music Spotify streams up 50% from 2019.
So we have the tech world, brothers and sisters. We have an opening here for the apps, for the Bible searches. We really need to look at where's the opportunity here for seizing ground in searches for spirituality. The sad thing is, I'll bet you the demographics on that are they're 30 years old and under doing these searches, and they're going to whatever's out there. They're not going to church unless somebody invites them, and they reframe what church is. I'm not against church. Church would be great if every church was on fire. But they are looking, and they're looking on apps, and they're downloading Christian music. That's interesting. I don't see any statistics on churches growing. I'm sure that there'll be some data coming out that attendance is no longer on the decline. It's probably ascending. But this is the data that tells you that you're in the first phase of a great awakening. By the way, what's the difference between a awakening and a revival? Just a little bit of nomenclature. I do have a master's degree in theology, so I study this stuff. I did business for 20 years and then went into the Word of God to try to see the fusion of the two. And the difference between, from my perspective, revival and awakening is that revival is a spiritual quickening that comes to the church that makes the church come alive and results in the propagation of the gospel. Awakening is when that spirituality becomes a phenomena that starts to wrap around institutions, where you start to see that it becomes a cultural influence, and a great awakening affects, as we had the great awakening that happened in the first and second great awakenings that we've had in the United States. They resulted in reform movements. They resulted in the revolutionary America, because the preaching of Whitefield and the early Methodists and the circuit riders and the pastors themselves, the Black Robe Regiment, where they literally, pastors were engaged in the fight for the cause. You had that revival that became an awakening because it formed a government. And so awakening encompasses culture and revival. And not to be too technical, but those words are different. And when you have a great awakening, you have a societal wake-up call. Institutions are impacted by the revival. That's what we want. Russell Brand recently was at a Turning Point event, and he was doing some Q&A, if I'm not mistaken. Play video cut 10. Let's see what happened.
Yeah, what would you say to pastors who are scared to speak out, who are trying to walk the line because they don't want to offend either side?
There's a revival happening. Yeah. This isn't the time to be frightened. This is the time to no longer deny his holiness and his greatness. That not only is Jesus Christ real, the devil is real. And the devil has his hands on the levers of power. And we must be mindful of that. Technology changes the world real fast. There is an attempt to assert centralization when it's clear that decentralization is possible. Maximum sovereignty for the individual. We are made in his likeness likeness. The human face is his hallmark and his signature. We must honor and revere and love one another, but we must refute and repudiate evil wherever we find it, and the culture is steeped in it. Be bold from the pulpit. Be bold among your congregation. That's what I'd say to the pulpits, to the pastors, even though in this instance it is hypothetical. I really got into it for a minute.
Whoa! Listen, Jelly Roll has me on my feet, and he's a singer. Russell Brand's a comedian, a stand-up comedian, folks, who met Jesus. I don't know if you remember this. I used to do a little Periscope broadcast. I had like 60,000 people at a time. I kind of got intimidated by my own results once I realized that's like having Yankee Stadium, listening to you. But I used to walk around in my basement praying, being the Pentecostal that I am, and I would pray, Red Rover, send Russell Brand over. Red Rover, send Tucker Carlson over. Red Rover, send Elon Musk over. And all these guys, I'm telling you, it's the truth. I'm not saying I did it. I'm saying I was picking up on the fact that God is inviting them into a movement that's bigger than you and me. Now, to hear Russell Brand, the comedian, the lascivious, kind of new age loving comedian, be so strong on Jesus. And what did he say? Maximum sovereignty for the individual. He's really quite brilliant, if you'll ever listen to him. He can go toe-to-toe with the best. What he's saying is that digital ID that Donald Trump's circle is pushing right now, and that England is pushing, you realize how that's going to easily collapse into the hands. So you take communist powers, you take China, the dragon. If that beast is able to rise up, then probably it is the biblical beast, and it's able to rise up and crush the economic autonomy of the United States and make vassals out of our corporatists who are working with government. And there's a shift in government. And it's no longer, the Pharaoh right now knows Joseph. That's us. Trump knows us. But another Pharaoh comes along who is in the office of centralized power. And they take that digital ID. Now they're using it for facial recognition, for tracking you in your automobile, watching you and doing facial recognition. And now what might be justified because lawlessness, catch how this works, 20 million illegals, 500,000 criminals coming in from Venezuela and various other cartels in the United States. Understand all the ICE protests. It's nothing more than the Democrat dark demonic machine trying to keep the illegals in the country because that's the only way they could get voted into power. Enlightened Americans aren't going to vote for their own destruction, so they got to bring in and import votes from foreign countries that they'll subsidize and bless, and they'll make them voters for their socialist regime. You see how that works? Well, what Russell is saying is maximum sovereignty. The goal is push back on the lawlessness, because lawlessness, by its strategy, forces you to go to control. In other words, we need a digital ID so we can identify all the illegals. I can understand where Trump's coming from. He's saying, I'm not going to give any power to this. I'm going to use that ID to ferret out who doesn't belong in the country. That's fine when you've got a Pharaoh that knows Joseph. Someone else will use that technology against you. You see the concern that even Russell is talking about. We'll be back.
We're entering a period of time that has increased hostility against people of faith. It's a time when Christians are going to be tested on a moral, physical, psychological, and even a financial basis. I'm here to remind you that God is the one who has blessed you thus far, and He will take care of you in the future. You have a divine responsibility, however, to see trouble and prepare yourself. For example, with record inflation eating away at the value of the U.S. dollar, the savings in your retirement account is in danger of slipping away. I recommend diversifying your 401k or IRA out of paper assets and into physical gold. And the best way to do that is with a gold IRA from Birch Gold Group. Now that includes no penalties, there's no taxes when you transfer current retirement funds into Birch Gold. To see how it works, I want you to go to lancewallnau.com/Birch and get your free info kit, and you'll be glad that you did.
Welcome back. And speaking of the anarchy machine of the left, Soros's foundations helping fund the anti-Trump No Kings protests. Are you like me? Aren't you fed up with the fact that Comey and Brennan and Clapper could lie. Obama could be exposed now. His pants are down. All of them colluding together in order to disrupt the election of Trump, and after he's in office, to create a hoax that basically tied up America, the news cycle on Russian collusion. I think there's an appropriate sense of outrage that many of us feel that says if we don't, we're in the avalanche and the blizzard of current events and news cycles. If we don't stop and say, wait a second, what happened there? And we go after it and deal with it in such a powerful way that future FBI Democrats and whoever's in power fear to follow that example because they don't want to go to jail. They don't want to end up like the other guy that tried to game the system, to pull out a sitting president, to impeach a man that people voted for, and to sabotage his administration with the intelligence community planting fake stories with fake evidence in order to create a fake narrative. And then you follow that up with, I don't want to go there, about all the lawfare that Trump had to go through in order, and the assassination attempts. That's separate. What I'm trying to say is, don't you get fed up when you keep hearing about Soros and these leftists funding anarchy, riots, BLM in the United States, and of the 14,000 that are arrested, only 1% ever got prosecuted. They get off. Even with ICE, I don't know why they just don't. If it was me, I would quarter off the crowd, and I would circle the whole bunch of them, and I would take all of them in for processing when there's a riot. It's not like you wait till this guy did punch. The other guy's got a tear gas cannon. This guy's throwing rocks. This guy over here is throwing urine bomb balloons. I think you got to be able to take a whole bunch of them and just, process this thing. Instead of we got one arrest or two arrests. There was a mob of 200 of them. How do you get with one arrest or two arrests? Anyway, Soros Foundation, he's still around. He's been the boogeyman since I started getting involved with this thing back in 2010. Senator Cruz tells Fox News the protest is organized by Soros operatives and funded by Soros money. Well, let's see. You guys got a graphic for me here? Show me what we got for the No Kings financials. Have been released. It's a little hard for you to see there. But Arabella, which is the Washington legal foundation they set up that used to work with USAID and pilfer billions and millions of dollars into their left-wing radical causes. They know how to take your tax money, and they don't, not like us. What we do is, all of us get hit with donations and give, and I get these constant text urgencies. You need $10, $15 to win this election. They set up a machine where it's like, we're just going to go after the government money of your taxes. We're not going to take an offering. We're not going to be giving sacrificially. We're actually going to use your money against you. So Arabella is set up to do that. $79 million from Arabella, which is a Soros fund. Along with Soros's, his own foundation doing $72 million. There's $150 million right there. The Tides Foundation, $45 million. The Rockefellers, $26 million. The Ford Foundation there, $51 million. And what's up with Warren Buffett? My gosh, Warren, what an idiot! Used to love Warren Buffett until I just saw his number. There was $16 million funding the Anarchy Machine. Like he didn't make money off the American system. $294,487,000. That can't be right. Doing a live check here. The grand totals I've got here, gentlemen, are $79 million. Oh, wait a second. Oh, that was just Arabella. Oh, yeah, you're right. Correction, live on the air. let's say $300 million. Let me ask you a question. If you got $300 million and there's 300 protest points, it's $1 million per point. But actually, it was more like around 100. So let's say $3 million for 100 protests. $3 million each. Do you understand that $3 million gets spread around to this group to organize, that group to organize, this group to organize? So this is funding the anarchy of organizations that locally in L.A. and locally in New York and locally in D.C., they get paid to do donuts and coffee and get the grassroots out of the radicals and to build their mail list to say we're all going to show up here. The point of the matter is, this isn't a spontaneous populist expression of American outrage against Donald Trump. This is a $300 million paid party. Hey, we're paying you to protest. Here's the posters. Hand these out. Here's the theme. The brand is No Kings. We got these speakers speaking at these events. It's a political campaign. And quite frankly, if these are operating as not-for-profits in an organized campaign to destroy Trump's credibility and his administration, they're no longer not-for-profits, not operating politically. And I say either go after them for the violation of their not-profit status when they're engaged in overt political demonstrations like that, or let's just tell the church world that they're, as it's starting to become obvious now, get some guts and take a percentage of your financial offerings and tithes and your nonprofit money, and let's do some other organizing that's going to expose our fed-upness with, let's say, the universities and colleges that have a 30-to-1 advantage of liberal professors over conservatives. And we'll start organizing and funding $300 million worth of protests this quarter on the campuses. And then we'll go after, another target later on. The point is, it failed. I mean, you're hearing them thump their chest, look at this outrage. A lot of times I'm looking at footage, I say, wait a second, that's footage from 2020. That's not even current events footage. But they're, by their own admission, with $300 million, all you see, primarily in some place like Carolina, it's kind of embarrassing. All you see are aging liberals out there, and they're all white Democrat liberals are there, and it looks like a geriatric conference. I'm counting on the fact they got some younger ones out there, but if you ever take a look at a picture, and I'm not trying to be cruel, but the odd assortment of esoteric and eccentric people that make up these coalitions, pink hair, trans community, all kinds of weird stuff, and they have to be paid to show up on top of that for the party. And it still flops. Meanwhile, Trump's having a good time. Oh, play the Cut 19. I haven't seen this yet. Let me see what Britt Hume has to say. He's always good. Watch this.
Well, the name of No Kings was kind of ridiculous. We don't have a king, as the president said, and if we did, it's not clear that protests like the No Kings rally would be permitted. This president, remember, came to power by running for election 3 times. His major program was put into place by a vote of democratically elected members of Congress. Kings don't have to worry about things like that, nor do they have to worry about the courts restraining them. So it's an absurd name. But on the other hand, they turned out a good crowd. I mean, in many cities there were, thousands and thousands of people turned out. If you looked at it, you might have thought it was a cross between the faculty lounge and the retirement home. But nonetheless, they're all voters, they count, and the fact that they turned out tells you something. And what I think it tells you is just how our politics has turned out over the last 8 or 9 years. It is all about Trump. It is about resistance to Trump, and it is about support for Trump. Support prevailed in 2016, resistance prevailed in 2020, and his support prevailed again in 2024, and it's still going on. Same battle. Same guy. I've called him the political colossus of our time, but he is the issue. Everything else is secondary. Everything, and that's what these rallies suggested to me.
All right, I want my team to do something. We may have to stop the clock for a minute because I'm giving an audible to my producer. But I want you to go to the Blue Sky. White House just opened up its own account, and for J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, which is the liberal progressive left version of Twitter. I mean, there's liberals obviously on Twitter, but the progressive, frustrated, radical left, their therapy is to have their one platform where they all kind of congregate. And so Donald Trump went over there in classic Trumpian fashion and said, I think I'll go visit the No Kings protest. And he allowed stuff to get posted with him getting a crown on his head and Nancy Pelosi taking the knee along with Schumer and all the rest from the BLM riot days. Remember that, where they had that stage thing where they all were wearing actually it was weird. It was like a Ghana slave, apparel, which is, if you trace it back, it was kind of bizarre why they were wearing that. But they were trying to make themselves look like they're in solidarity with the George Floyd riots, which was a way of them getting power. And so they knelt down and did that weird thing. And Trump just said, let me use the footage here. And somebody put it together for him. But the fact that he posted it is hilarious, because it shows you that he's not intimidated by what they're doing. And I disagree with Britt Hume. I say for $300 million, if you can only get 4 spots that showed a couple of thousand people, I'm telling you the funding alone should have done better than that. So let's pause here and take a look at Trump trolling on Blue Sky. Now, this is going to make the Rottweilers go wild. And I guess there's a point at which you have to say absurdity gets met with absurdity. And I laugh at this because it's so adolescent, but it's the right response. Instead of the George Bush kind of not responding and being above it all and maintaining the dignity of the office, these guys are learning how to troll back. And it feeds the base, because the base... the thing about the MAGA movement that's great is we got a glint in our eye and we're having fun in the warfare. You could kill us, shoot at us, try to traumatize us. We just get resolved with self-control, remarkable self-control. That we're not the ones blowing up Tesla dealerships and going after the Tides Foundations and Rockefellers and Soros estates. These people break into the house, firebomb. I think it's time we had a conversation about this. But listen. I can't let the MAGA movement has got enemies within. Well, we always have fun doing these shows, and I've got a new creed, and it's like I'm finding the hope and the joy in all things, hard as it is. But I think that as a believer, we're supposed to be filled with joy and filled with hope, filled with righteousness, peace, and joy in the Holy Ghost. And if we're not, it's because we're magnetizing what the enemy's doing and not properly magnifying what the Lord is doing. So we're going to see you again tomorrow. I've got a lot of really interesting things I can't get to right now, but we're going to record it for you. You can watch it tomorrow.
Did you enjoy this latest episode? Please remember to share it with your friends, because the more knowledge you have, the better equipped you are to navigate the world